started. Rick, thank you. Well, welcome everyone to this University of Minnesota Extension Center for Family Development webinar on Get Moving, Get Fit. Today our presenter is Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy is a University of Minnesota Extension educator in health and nutrition, and he is located at our Cloquet regional office. Jimmy is a certified personal trainer who aims to find meaningful ways to improve both physical literacy and physical activity levels for all individuals and communities. So Jimmy, I'm so looking forward to the information that you're going to be sharing today. So here is Jimmy Johnson.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me right now? Loud and clear? Okay, thank you. So before I get started today, one thing that I always discuss with my audiences is I am a stutterer, and so there will be times where you might hear me having difficulty saying my words. It's okay if you haven't heard that before. I'm okay. It's just, you know, how it is. But I ask for your patience with me if I do have a difficult time once in a while. But it's important that I share what I want to talk about with you guys today. So I want to just add that in before we get started. So thank you again so much for that introduction. Appreciate that. Again, so my background is I came to Extension with a fitness background, also in the martial arts industry. So I've been a personal trainer for 18 years now, and then I've also had been fortunate enough to also work for the National Exercise Trainers Association, which has allowed me to travel around the U.S. and actually prepare personal trainers to take their exam. So I'm actually the person that actually trains personal trainers. So I just want to add that. I also, one of my other passions is the martial arts. I currently have a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, as well as in structured chips in Muay Thai, kickboxing, Filipino martial arts, and others. So I just wanted, you know, to add that a little bit as well. So today we're gonna be focusing on getting fit, and specifically fitness in improving that. And so I'm going to put on my personal trainer hat today and talk to you guys like I would be, you know, talking to a new client who was interested in how to get fit. Okay, so thank you. So just a few of the objectives today that we're going to talk about is we're going to start off by finding your purpose for wanting to be fit, physically fit, and we're just going to talk about some different philosophies of fitness from the past. And then we're going to also define and understand the different components of physical fitness, the language, and then we're going to actually get into some program design, which is just, you know, offering you some simple, basic today workouts that you can do anywhere, at home, gym, or whatever. So that's what we want to get covered here in the next 45 minutes here. So let's dive in by first just having some terminology that we can use. Okay. So we're going to start at the top. So the main important thing is we want to build good health. And according to the World Health Organization, health is number one, is absence of disease, as well as optimal physical, social, and psychological well-being. Okay. So that's what we want. First of all, is just good general health. The next term is really, really important that I want you guys, everybody to remember this term. Physical activity is any bodily movement that results in expenditure of calories. So anything. So when I say that, that means if you walk up, walking to the bathroom, that's physical activity. Brushing your teeth, that technically is physical activity. So it's any movement. But then under that, then the next term is what we call exercise. Exercise is physical activity that is planned, structured, and repetitive. So it's any movement, but now it's purposeful. It's planned out. We're thinking about it. Okay, so remember that. And then fitness is having a set of attributes, things like strength, flexibility, muscular endurance. Those attributes are developed through doing exercise, which is under physical activity. So just remember that physical activity is the key term. Everything else falls under that. Okay. So I just want to just share a little bit here, just looking at some of the proven physical and mental benefits of physical activity. Many of these you probably have heard of or seen, but just take a look there for a moment. Many of the benefits are to help prevent and reduce the risk of many preventable diseases, chronic, especially cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, and then also physical activity. One of the latest findings that has a lot of momentum is how physical activity affects brain health positively. So it helps reduce Alzheimer's possibly, and just helps us to keep our brain functioning for as long as possible. Some other benefits, there's a list here more, some other ones here. So mental health, again, reducing depression, can help with weight gain. Really, the first one there is why I personally like to be physically fit so much. It improves the quality of my life. It just makes life easier. I feel more resilient. So it also helps bone health. For older adults, being physically active, physically fit can also help reducing falling, and other fall-related injuries. And then something that I also like to think about, that also maybe you also might think about too, are the social benefits of fitness. So here was just five things that I saw. One of them is it has the potential to make you more reliable. when you stick to a fitness routine, people expect you there. You're accountable, and that can just help deepen your relationships with people and your relationships, your social life. Another social benefit of fitness is it helps you to find people like you. So a lot of us seek to find a tribe culture of people that think like us, um, and will support us in our goals. So that's another benefit. Third one is it can also improve your memory, and that again is just gonna help enrich your interpersonal relationships. And then fourth one is it makes you actually happier. A lot of times when you're going through those experiences with other people through movement, exercise movement, that can also help enrich your relationships as well. So it's fun to share those experiences with others. And then the last one, the fifth one, is social benefit. It can help you adjust to new surroundings. So maybe you're somebody that just moved into town, a new community, and you are interested in fitness. Well, finding other like-minded people that want to also be fit is a positive thing, and it's also a good way a good way for healthy relationships in a positive environment. So those are just some of the social, physical, mental benefits of fitness. I want to just pause right now. I went over a lot of things already. In your chat box, is there anything right now that you would like me to just go over, or something that wasn't anything right now at this point? Any questions on what was talked about so far? And Rick can let me know if there was anything. Otherwise, I'll just give it here a second and then I'll move on.
So far, I don't see any questions right now popping in. Okay. But if people do type them in, I'll ask them when you have your next question break.
Thank you, Rick.
The one thing that did just pop in, is there a minimum time needed for mental benefits? From Jamie.
Oh, no, so there's no specific time on that, as far as 10 minutes or anything like that. The physical activity guidelines for Americans talk about that any amount is going to have immediate benefits for mental health benefits, anxiety reducing, stress, etc. However, with also mentioning that, yes, the longer you would participate, the benefits, the research shows the benefits go up the more that we engage in physical activity. So, good question.
And okay. The other question that came up is, are you going to deal with weight loss? Or the question is, what type and length of exercise is recommended for weight loss?
Yes, I will touch upon that when we get to the actual guidelines and the different components of physical fitness. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I can touch a little bit on that for sure. Absolutely. All right, so as I was saying before, I did want to just talk a little bit about philosophy. Philosophy helps sorry. Okay, why physical fitness? And so this is a opportunity for us to really think about the purpose, our why. Why do we want to be physically active, physically fit, healthy, and developing and forming your own personal philosophy of fitness is the foundation for long-term success that will give you a sense of purpose and persevere through adversity. So when you don't feel like doing it, like, why am I doing this? Maybe you're at a plateau point where you're moving, but you're just not seeing results. This is where the philosophy, your why, can help you break through that. So it's really, really important. So I wanted to just go through just a few historical examples of philosophies actually of fitness. And I like these. These are pretty interesting here. Also, fitness philosophy helps you understand who you are, what you believe about a behavior, your values, and so it's can help aid in good decision making skills. And then also, without a personal fitness philosophy, we sometimes risk spending time in environments that do not support our goals. So that's also another important point for philosophy. So the first person that I wanted to look at was more of a European view. And we have Plato here, famous philosopher. And he talks about here, you can see there, that lack of activity destroys a good condition of every human being, while movement and methodical physical exercise will save it and preserve it. So that's a pretty interesting way of looking at movement in terms of it's related to your quality of life itself. We have to also remember that the Greeks were the ones that were responsible for bringing in sports, Olympic Games, preparing for battle, for wars. So that was just one philosophy that we can look at. Okay. Next one. I wanted to also take a look at a native tribal perspective of the body and fitness overall. And here we can see that Charles Eastman here, the moment that man conceived of a perfect body, supple, flexible, evenly proportioned, graceful, laid the foundation of a moral life. So again, we're looking at how movement relates to, even here, morality, good life. And again, the native tribal people, they really had to depend on their personal level of fitness just to survive every day, gathering food, preserving food, hunting, games, their leisure, battle for war. They walked a lot across the land of North America. So it was just physical fitness was essential for survival. And then the last view, philosophy, for those of you that are familiar with the Pilates method, exercise, Joseph Pilates himself, he says here, physical fitness is the first requisite for happiness. And again, he also talks about having that uniform, balanced body, graceful with ease. And then he also says that it should be able to have us perform our daily tasks, which is like our jobs, our work, with ease and spontaneous zest and pleasure. So these were just 3 different philosophies of fitness. And now I just want to take a moment to give you the opportunity to share in the chat box, why do you want to be physically fit? So I will pause right now for a moment or two, and I would like you guys to write that in there, please, if you could. And then Rick can read some as he sees appropriate.
They're popping in quite fast here. So Danielle, better aging. Carol, to feel good and be more confident. Betsy, long-term health benefits. Healthy aging. To keep up with my kids. To have better long-term health. Live life to the fullest. I feel better when I stay active. Healthy aging, to be stronger, to age more gracefully.
Age more gracefully, yeah, absolutely.
And I think there's already 69 more messages that popped in.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to
read them all.
Get to all of those, but okay. All right.
Retirement.
Oh, yeah. The golden years, to be healthy as we age, to be able to enjoy retirement and be able to be physically active with our loved ones and grandkids and our friends. Yes, absolutely. Okay, I am going to move on just because time is going so fast. So thank you so much for those. All right, next slide. So as we want to be able to, it's really, really important where we get our information at related to physical activity, fitness, movement. And so what healthcare and fitness professionals, personal trainers use is something called the Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans. And perhaps you've seen this before, maybe it's the first time you ever have, but this is what we're going to follow today. There are other things out there on the web, guidelines, but these are the ones, evidence-based and best practices that we can use as a framework as we develop our own fitness programs that we design. The first edition came out in actually 2008. And then there was a mid report in 2013. And then the latest edition came out in 2018. And again, the purpose is to give evidence-based information, but also to give us guidelines to help Americans gain the maximum benefits of being physically active. And there are 2 entities that are part of the physical activity guidelines. Okay, first is the American College of Sports Medicine. So they're the folks that talk about the actual movement themselves, how long, duration, frequency, intensity, and type. And then also the Department of Health and Human Services is also in there to complement that as well. So those 2 are what make up the guidelines. So I am assuming that today I'm speaking to primarily an adult audience, 18 and over. And so basically what we're looking at here, the first numbers now, actually, I want you to think about is the guidelines talk about for adults, 150 minutes per week of what we call moderate aerobic exercise or movement. Moderate, the best way that I teach people that we talk about what's moderate intensity is something called the talk test. If you're walking, riding bike, jogging, if you can talk normally like I am right now, that is aerobic. Oxygen is being delivered to your muscles. You're breathing. You can talk. That's moderate intensity. All right. So 150 minutes per week of that. And then the other very, very important component is within that time, 2 days a week is focused on muscle strengthening activities. So resistance training of some sort. And again, that can be, and we'll talk about that later. There's body weight, there's machines, there's dumbbells, there's barbells, kettlebells, bands, but at least as a baseline, your minimum is we want to be moving towards adding in a combination of aerobic and muscle strengthening activities combined. Now, with that being said, that's just the basic point. What the guidelines also talk about is for maximum benefits, we want to go to 300 minutes per week. And then again, of that, that's our aerobic, biking, walking, hiking, hauling wood, raking leaves, okay? And again, we also have that 2 days muscle building, okay? So when somebody was talking about, I think Rick mentioned weight loss or maintaining weight, this would be the first guideline that I would suggest that people start to move towards is a half hour up to 1 hour, 300 minutes per week. And that's going to definitely kickstart weight loss or fat loss, I should say, fat loss. And yeah. See if I have anything else. And then again, here's just 3 examples of combining that. The first one, you're walking for, again, a brisk walk, half hour a day, and then any 2 days a week muscle building. Notice though this, when you do vigorous intensity exercise, so vigorous is sometimes called anaerobic. I'm running out of oxygen. So if I'm starting to gasp for breath, I can't talk. Now we're going into what we would talk about vigorous intensity. So that's that talk test once again being used for that. Notice though, if intensity goes up, your duration of time goes down. So you can see there that there, rather than 30 minutes doing a brisk a walk example, you can also jog or run and cut that time in half. So for those that want to engage in vigorous or have the health to be able to, that's another option. So in intensity goes up, duration and time frequency goes down. And then the third example there was just combining both of those, moderate with vigorous. And again, we're always want to add in those 2 days per week of muscle strengthening as well. Couple things when we're talking about aerobic exercise, movement activity, since we are in the outdoor summertime right now, I like to look at walking and biking as really, really good ways to get in aerobic fitness. It's Plus, you also get the benefits of fresh air, the nature part of that engagement as well. So I suggest, if possible, biking, walking are good forms for that. And then for those of you for those of you that also live in areas where there are bike paths and things like that, biking and walking can also be used for alternative forms of transportation as well. So short trips can oftentimes, you can do those walking or bicycling. So I just wanted to add those in there. And then a little bit more detail on the muscle strengthening perspective of this. So the ACSM guidelines here, we're talking about, which again, 2 or 3 days per week, and they recommend actual resistance weight training, so dumbbells and barbells, machines, but body weight is also works well too, and we'll talk about that a little bit here as well. And then reps. A rep is, for example, if I'm doing a curl, for example, let's say this is my weight. One rep is when it's here, I go down and all the way up. That's 1 rep. Or if I was doing a press, a shoulder press, and then down. So up and then down, that's 1 rep. And so they recommend, when we're lifting our weights, finding a weight that you can do between 8 and 12 times. Okay. And then they want to work the large muscle groups of the body. So our legs, our chest, our thighs, our back.
Jimmy, back
yes.
on that slide, someone asked, looking at the repetitions,
yeah,
it says for older people 10 to 15 instead of the 8 to 12. And the question is, why do older adults have to do more?
They don't. That is in there, and it's a lot of times, and so the best way to explain that is the idea that the older adult is going to use lesser weight than a younger adult. And so actually when we tell personal trainers, the guideline is still 8 to 12 reps. But older folks that might want to use lesser weight and do more reps for muscular endurance, certainly we can. But I like that 8 to 12 reps, 15 maximum, whether you're older or younger.
Thank you.
Welcome. So again, let's now start moving in here, the last part of our day here, into some program design ideas and things like that. So giving you guys some tips and resources. So again, just to reiterate, when we had talked about the terms at the top of the hour, the most important thing is we need to have a baseline level of general health before we can work on the different components of actually being physically fit. There has to be a generalized overall baseline of general health, because we talked about exercise is planned, structured, repetitive. So you have to have the general health to be able to sustain training or workouts over time, and so good health is first, and then even above that, for those of you that are actually interested in performance, things like speed, power, agility, coordination, that would still also take baseline level of health, and then fitness, and then performance is at the very top of that. So I just want to reiterate that once again. All right, here's another opportunity here really quick. So I just want to know if you could please put it in your chat box. Rick has a poll here today. Where are you at today? Are you somebody that is currently meeting the guidelines? Oh, sorry, meeting or exceeding the guidelines? And we talked about that 150 minutes per week, aerobic, 2 days a week, muscle strengthening. You're currently physically active, but not quite meeting the minimums here of what we talked about, but you're planning on starting within the next 6 months. So you're contemplating it, thinking about it, it's in your mind, or currently not engaging in any consistent physical activity at this time. I'm just going to wait for that poll to come in here from Rick here. 15%. Okay, thank you. So it looks like 15% currently meeting or going above the guidelines. Number two, 66% are currently active but not meeting the guidelines. So you're, yep. And then, but thinking about it within the next 6 months. And then we have 19%, which is currently not engaging in consistent physical activity at this time. All right, so a lot of folks moving, but just wanting to move towards that next level, which is exactly who I was hoping to share this with today. But again, even if you're not currently physically active, I am really hoping that you're motivated by just the benefits that we've talked about, philosophy. There's so much to be gained by even a little bit of movement. All right. Thank you for the poll. Appreciate it. All right. So for most people, they don't have to be concerned about getting started being physically active, but there is a tool for those folks that may have some possible health problems, issues. There is a form called the PAR-Q form, Physical Activity Readiness Questionnaire. And this is a self-screening tool that you can use. And it's just a minimal tool that will let you know if you are somebody that may need to consult with a healthcare professional provider before starting your fitness physical activity program. And so if you look at the next set, there are 7 questions here. I'm just going to have you look at those because our time here is moving along here. But if you answer yes to any of these, to any of them, it is strongly suggested that you consult a healthcare provider. And in fact, we tell personal trainers are not allowed to work with somebody if they answered yes to any of these until they would actually get that sheet or referral saying that it's okay for that person to participate in exercise. So just take a look at that there for a moment. So, all right. Here we go, program design. components of an exercise program. So here's the meat of actually designing your own fitness program. Again, we're going to be using the guidelines as a framework for that, and okay, ACSM guidelines as well. All right, and once you understand the basic principles of fitness, it's really fun and easy to create your own programs. Okay, so with all of the different exercises out there that people think about, I take the approach of thinking about movement patterns. Okay, and when you think about how humans developed just to survive in their natural environments, these were the essential movements that they needed to survive. So they are a squat, a lunge, a bend, twist, rotation. For example, you're throwing the spear, pulling objects, pushing objects, and then your gait. And gait is simply walk, jog, run, or sprint. So no matter what we're doing, your movement pattern is going to fall into one of those what we call primary movement primal patterns. And I just think that sometimes it's easier to think about that than all the different types of movements you can do isolated. They all come down to this basics one here. And then a more modern way of looking at that today would just be here in the gym. So again, your squat, your lunge, your push, pull, bend, twist, and gait. And we do these all the time, reaching for things, bending down for things, rotating, moving objects, pulling things, raking, hauling wood, all those. And again, the starting point, I want to add this too. The starting point is being able to perform the primal movement patterns with your body weight. That is a great place to start. And for a lot of people, that's fine just where it is, just right there, body weight. As long as you're functional in those movement patterns, you're doing good, really good. So I just want to mention that as well. And then for those that want to get bigger or want to add more muscle building, then you can add external resistance, which is the dumbbells, the barbells, bands, things like that. Okay, so again, here we're just going to talk quickly about those attributes, the benefits here. The components. So there are 5 components that make up fitness. This is what we're talking about today. Number 1 is muscular strength. In its truest form, that would mean how much weight you can lift one time. So if I'm going to lift like a heavy weight, a deadlift, for example, or a bench press one time, that is actually what we're talking about there. Okay. Next is muscular endurance. Muscular endurance is the ability of the muscles to produce force repeatedly. And probably the best example of that is a push-up test. How many push-ups can you do to fatigue? That's muscular endurance. So it's over and over again. The third one is cardiorespiratory endurance. The ability of the heart and lungs to deliver oxygen to your muscles, or being able to sustain your heart rate at a raised heart rate for a longer amount of time without going into that anaerobic where we're out of breath. We can exercise at a higher intensity while remaining aerobic, the talk test. So we're building the ability of the heart and the lungs to deliver. The fourth one is body composition. So it's not weight loss, it's body composition, which is the ratio of of your lean muscle mass, your muscle, in racial comparison to your organs, your skin, adipose, or fat tissue. So it's not what you weigh, it's body fat percentage. And I will talk a little bit about that as well. Then the fifth one is flexibility, just being able to have a pain-free range of motion at your joints, your neck, your shoulders, your hips, and your knees. So when we're talking now about this, we're basically talking about how we're going to measure improvement in each of the components. So the first one was muscular strength. Here is an example of somebody doing a squat. So the idea would be, we're going to do that. You could, for say we're using that 8 to 12 reps as a range. I start with the weight I can do 8 times. Over several workouts, I build up to 12 reps, 15 reps, add weight, go back down to 8 reps again, and build up. We call that progressive overload. Okay, where you're adding weight to your movements. The second one was muscular endurance, and I used the push-up test there. And here you could see, if you wanted to look at your age and what it might look like in terms of improving your fitness in that area for push-ups. So, and men are at the top there, and women are at the bottom. So for me, I would need to do more than 34 to be excellent. And it goes all the way from excellent to poor. Remember, this is one way to monitor improvement, but this is the way that, again, how from a personal trainer perspective. So I have some kind of a baseline to see where you're currently at. Third one was cardiorespiratory fitness. One thing that we use oftentimes is just something called the Rockport rocking test. Basically, all it is you time how long it takes you to walk a mile. And what's helpful with that is later down the road, you can then time yourself again to see, has there been improvement made in time? My resting heart rate is down, blood pressure maybe has gone down, because those are some of the things that occur as we become more aerobically fit. It is really easy to do. And again, I'm just going to quickly share, because I know we're time is here, but here, this lets you see what that might look like for your age and gender. Then we have that fourth component, body composition, and that's that lean muscle mass to the rest of it, organs, tissue, adipose tissue as well. And again, it's very, very important. It's not what you weigh so much, it's what your lean muscle mass is compared to your body fat percentage of your body fat. And then I did put numbers here. Generally, the best way is to have a certified personal trainer take calipers. There's like a pincher, basically, and they measure at the shoulder, the hip, the calf. There's several locations that you can do that with. And then from there, that gives you your total body fat percent. Another way to monitor body comp is something called the waist-hip ratio. And this is basically dividing, taking your weight, your waist and dividing it by your hip. So waist divided by hip. And then what we know is if we're looking at, basically what we look at here is if somebody has does have extra weight around their belly, central region, we call that android obesity. And that is where kind of sometimes we call it to as a apple shape is sometimes what that's referred to. And generally for health, if somebody is going to have excess weight, it is healthier to have that excess weight at the hips, thighs, and buttocks, called that gynoid overweight obesity, gynoid. But as far as health is, we know that when we have extra weight around the belly, that's where our organs are, and the risk for several diseases goes up the more excess weight that we hold in our midsections. And then the numbers there are as well for that. All right, and then the last component is flexibility. And again, that is just basically a pain-free range of motion at your joint, so the shoulder joint. And there's many different tests you can do, but basically if you can reach down, touch at your toes, stretch up, bend over comfortably without pain, that's generally what we're looking for. And this is flexibility is probably one of the components that people seem to miss the most. And it's very, very important, especially as you get older. Number one, to help reduce the risk of injuries, and maintaining your movement and muscular imbalances in your body. So flexibility, make sure that you take time at the end of your workout or whenever you want to add in just a little bit of stretching as you can. Okay, wrap it up. I know we're past time. Thank you for your patience here. A couple more slides. So circuit training. Circuit training is going from one exercise to the next with little or no rest. So here you can see this one would be like if you were at a gym, okay, example, where you've got a machine weight and then your legs, upper body, lower body, going from one to the next with no rest. What's nice with this is it saves time because your rest times are minimal, your heart rate is going to be elevated. So you are simultaneously working your aerobic component and also your muscle strengthening activities at the same time. And again, this is just one way. You could do this with those primal movement patterns: squat to a press, to a push-up, to a lunge, and just do 10 reps, 15 reps. You could also time it. You could do each movement for 30 seconds and then move on to the next. And yes, your heart rate will definitely elevate and go up. So you cannot like kill two birds with one stone. I love them. I use these all the time. Another thing is called supersets. Supersets is now where, again, I'm going to alternate my groups of muscle groups that I'm working. Here you can see upper body, lower body. A lot of times it'll be chest and back, quadriceps, hamstrings, hamstrings, biceps, triceps. And again, because your rest time is little to minimal, you're going to get those simultaneous benefits. But above all, in the end, I just want to say, move your way. These are just some resources, examples, but walk, run, dance, play. What's your move? Thank you so much. That is all I had today. I know we are past by 10 minutes, but if there is anybody that still is on this call, I can take some questions.
Jimmy, this is Sarah. I'm going to have you move to the next screen, which has the evaluation link, and I have shared that in the chat for folks. Actually, one more. And Rick, if you could, so this talks about if you need a certificate of participation, you can request that in the evaluation, and then also you can access the well-being points through the evaluation. So the next slide gives that link, and Rick, if I can have you put that link in the chat again. So there are a few questions for folks that want to hang out here. We're going to run through those pretty quick here. We did have a question as you were talking about the circuit training. Does it make sense to combine muscle groups for circuit training or keep them separate? And is combined or separate better for muscle gain?
They will both work. They will both work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And you kind of responded to this question a few slides ago, but what if someone doesn't have a gym membership? Betsy's wondering, any tips for modifying these exercises for home? You know, you talked about walk, bike, just find something you enjoy, but any suggestions on modifying exercises for home use?
Well, basically, those primal movement, patterns there. The most room that you need is to be able to put your arms out to lay down. So basically, you would just need like a mat. You could use a blanket. Chairs could be used for support. You could hold the chair and then you squat down. You could use it to shoulder press that with your chair. So I did leave my email in there. So if anybody wanted to email me these individual program design questions, I will certainly answer you back in more detail.
Great, Jimmy. And we will be sending a follow-up email to all the participants. And in that, we'll be including the link to the evaluation. And Jimmy, I'm hoping we'll be able to include a PDF of the PowerPoint slides so folks can reference those in the future. And then there have been questions about recordings. And down the road, we will be sending out a follow-up email with a follow-up eval to see how people are doing if you're using the information. And in that, we will include a link to the recordings for the 3 webinars in this Finding Balance series. So be watching for that early fall. But we do have a few more questions. If folks want to stay on the line, we can take a look at those. I am looking here. So someone wanted to know, yoga, is that considered resistance exercise?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So yoga and Pilates are these body weight exercises, and what's nice about those is, once again, they combine flexibility, strength, muscular endurance simultaneously at the same time, because when you hold the poses, you're using your body weight as a natural form of resistance. And there's different types of yoga. Some are very relaxed, passive. Some are very vigorous. One of them is called Ashtanga yoga, which is an extreme. You can look it up, Ashtanga. And yes, you can get a complete balanced workout in yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, and these are called mind-body modalities. So there is a connection of consciousness and mindfulness attached to the your movement. As compared to, like, sometimes when we go to the gym, we sometimes want to go there to escape. Headphones are on, we're rocking out. Perfectly fine. That's not bad. This is just another way, a different way, mindfulness.
Great. Thanks, Jimmy. Earlier, you were talking about weightlifting, and we talked about the number of reps for younger versus older folks, and the lighter weights perhaps for older folks. Nola wondered about what kind of stretching should be done before lifting. And then she also asked, what about starting over after being out with injuries?
Okay, let me address injuries first. So injuries are, again, I would say if you have injuries that may need a healthcare provider to check those out, chiropractor, PT, physical therapist, something like that. And again, start out easy as you get back into your fitness program, because again, we're looking at sustained program, being able to do this over time. So start slow. Again, the guidelines talk about building up to that 30 minutes is that first baseline that we would like to, get up to. But again, if that's not possible, do what you can. And you can always modify by using less weight, less range of motion can help with that. And then again, really, if it's something that's not being helped by that, I strongly suggest a healthcare provider or a personal trainer to evaluate some of those injuries. As far as warming up for anything is what we can do, we call dynamic stretching. So dynamic would be things like going like this with your arms, circling to the front, moving your neck to the side and back, your hip circles, circling your hips both ways, circling your wrists. Those are what we call dynamic stretching. And what that does is that helps release synovial fluid into the joint, which is kind of like, oiling your joints like a oil can. So think about that. So joints like to make circles. And
great.
No, that's fine.
Thank you, Jimmy. Sarah had a question about how to stay motivated in the long run. She shared that she can get motivated to try something new for a couple weeks, but about week 3 or 4, she loses the motivation and she finds that she hasn't really developed a new habit yet, and she falls back into those old habits. So any tips for staying with exercise and weightlifting?
Do you train alone or do you train with someone else? Can she answer that?
Yep. So Sarah, go ahead and respond to that. Part of the conversation, and I see Sarah's still on, in the chat following that was the buddy system, and people were talking in the chat about having a buddy to go with.
Okay.
And then someone even shared that you can find YouTube has work buddies that you can look for. Yeah,
I guess I tell you, just being honest, that is a battle. I think everybody that is attempting to be physically fit, physically active, they face. I love movement. I love it, but there are still days where it is just really, really hard. And that's why we started off by talking about that that philosophy. When I don't feel like doing it, I'm bored. It's repetitive. It's structured. It's planned out. What's your why? So it can help to, you know, to have somebody else to train with. And then, like I said, mix it up. It's okay to mix it up, but you also want to be able to make sure that you are measuring improvement as well, if you want to, you know, actually work on those components of fitness.
Great, thank you. Abby was wondering, what are modified push-ups for women?
Modified push-ups would be doing them on your knees. Doing push-ups on your knees. So I had a slide. Oh no, that one didn't. Yeah, you're, rather than being up on your toes, you're on your knees, which is going to take off a significant amount of your body weight. Another way to also start push-ups, if that's difficult, is something called a plank, which is you're holding the push-up position, but you're not now actually dynamically moving. You're just holding yourself up. And that's the beginning of being able to have the strength to be able to do a full body weight push-up.
Jimmy, you are getting a lot of kudos and thanks and great information comments in the chat. We'll be sure to save that so you can take a look at that. Kate's wondering, what's the best way to approach stretching to avoid injury?
So if I can, I did not put it on this video or this presentation today, but I have a video where I actually have a dynamic warm-up I do. And I can send that out. It's on, I believe it might even be on our Real Food or Good Food Real Life website. But we can get that there. But dynamic stretching is what you do before you actually work out. And so, like I said, things like the circle. So you're dynamically moving. Okay. Every day, you want to stretch a little bit every day for sure, just to maintain range of motion every day at your joints. And again, certain days it feels good. You feel loose. The muscles are relaxed. Certain days we're stiff, and so many different factors are associated with that. Diet, genetics, injuries, medications. Those can all affect that. But the main thing is keep moving. Keep moving.
Sounds good, Jimmy. I think we're getting close to the end here. Yeah. People are commenting that, or someone shared yoga sculpting. They liked that. Another person talked about how they use the resistance bands, and that's very helpful as well. I do see a question here. Someone asked about the evaluation. The first question in the evaluation asks which webinar you are attending, and it's the Get Moving, Get Fit. So respond to that question and it'll take you to the right questions within the evaluation. But thank you. I think we're going to bring it to a close here. Thank you everyone for participating. We will be sending out a follow-up evaluation with a PDF of Jimmy's slides. We will include a link to that video. We'll include a link to the evaluation, which will allow you to request a certificate of participation and or a link to the UMN well-being points. We will be doing a follow-up email in a couple months that will have a link to the recording and another very short evaluation, because we want to see if you are going to be, or if you have been implementing some of these great things that Jimmy has been sharing with us. So thank you, everyone. We so appreciate you participating. And Jimmy, a huge thank you for pulling together this information from the comments in the chat. You are really inspiring and motivating people to take steps to improve their health. So thank you so much, Jimmy.
You're welcome, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right.